Cool. So does it feel like a good time to go ahead and get started? We haven't had anybody else trickle in a couple minutes. Yeah, let's do it. Today's agenda. Upcoming events, we've got network DAO updates. We're going to talk about the Tokenomics working group, some updates from them, and Moth Creative / Growth DAO with Bax. Some network governance updates. Then we're going to hear from Regen Foundation and Growth and Development. And then at the very end, we're going to have Regen Registry and the ERA Brazil presentation. So let's get this started. Upcoming events. Let's see, we've got Tokenomics Working Group that is every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Is that every Tuesday? You guys have been committing to that schedule even in the new year, Sarah? Yeah.
Yeah, we're still doing that until there's a reason to do something else. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Consistency.
That's awesome. Committed. I love it. And then we've got Regenerating News Hour, and that is now on the third Thursday of every month. So for March, it's going to be the 21st, and that's at 10 a.m. Pacific time now. And then the community call is the fourth Thursday of every month. So for March, it's going to be the 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And you can always follow the community calendar for any updates if there are any changes to that.
Interrupt with a teaser that there's something else that will be added to this upcoming community events that I did not put here, but that will be announced later. So
Ooh, exciting. I love it.
Yay.
All right. Some intrigue. Stick around. All right. Network DAO updates.
Yeah, so Max has been heading up the group, but he's in a time zone that doesn't accommodate this call. So I'm hopping on here. I guess we can get these links in the chat, or if people are able to click on them directly. Yeah, we've continued to meet each week. There's a executive summary of the outlook for 2024, and we're appreciating any community input on the goals and the projects. So please go check that out. There's a tokenomics model that we've been just kind of mapping out the token ecosystem. So that's also something people can check out and contribute to. Othman from Chainflow is going to be putting up an inflation reduction proposal. This has already been on Commonwealth for a while, and there's been a fair bit of discussion. So just next step there is getting it up on chain. And then Aaron, our CTO, and Robert, who's been contracted to be doing SDK upgrade, has been making some progress on the burn function, and people can follow along on GitHub if they'd like to. And then we have the Commonwealth page and the join the group page if you'd like to. Thanks for dropping those links in there.
I have some questions, Will, because I'm not one of the people that shows up for this call because it's early Pacific time and frankly, I'm lazy. But I'm wondering if you could, just for everyone's benefit, can you help us understand what exactly is like what we mean by the inflation proposal, and remind us what this burn function actually is? Like, what is this actually going to do for the Regen token? And like, how might this affect tokenomics, either the supply volume or the price? What are some of the assumptions that are behind those decisions and implementations?
Yeah, sure. I'll do my best to present them accessibly. With economics, it always gets pretty technical pretty quickly, but essentially all proof of stake networks have an inflation rate that is the rate at which new tokens are being created and paid out to network contributors. So that's in most networks, the major place that those rewards are being paid out are to validators for keeping the network running, and to token holders for staking their tokens and securing the network with that financial collateral. And if you look at proof of stake chains, Regen's inflation rate is significantly higher than most of our peers. And when these projects had launched a few years ago, everyone just kind of made up some numbers and gave it a try. And over time, it seems to be that the market's settling on some lower APRs. And so this proposal is essentially just bringing the Regen tokenomics in line with the general trend of kind of fewer tokens being created each block in each year. And then the burn function ties into this as well, because the inflation parameter is how many new tokens are being created. The burn function is how many tokens are being destroyed. So far, we haven't had any significant burn process. I guess one other network you might look at for this is Stargaze Network, which in some ways Stargaze has a lot of similarities to Regen. They have a marketplace. They sell NFTs, which are different than eco credits, but similar in that there's a lot of differentiation between different kinds of NFTs. And in the Stargaze model, the way that it works is every time an NFT is purchased, a small percentage of the purchase cost is going to burn star tokens. And what that does is reduces the token supply. You could, the way that Zargam from Block Science explains it is, on the one side you have the new tokens being created, the inflation. On the other side you have the burn occurring, and ideally there's some kind of equilibrium between those two forces, so that the token supply isn't kind of quickly expanding or quickly contracting, that you have some kind of balance. So the burn is essentially a way of, through market transactions, there being a way to be reducing the token supply at the same time as new tokens are being created. So yeah, that's the basic overview. Any more thoughts or questions about that, Sarah?
No, that was great. And it's good to hear that there's progress coming out of the tokenomics working group. So it sounds like we're waiting for a discussion to drop on Commonwealth about this inflation reduction number.
So the discussion's already up there. And if you
okay.
have
Will you share the link for folks?
Yeah. So the next thing is the kind of on-chain proposal. And since these are parameters, if we implement something and decide that it's too high or too low, we can always go in and fine tune it again. But yeah, I'll pull that up and drop it in the chat here.
Cool. And just so we have like a mental heads up for those of us that have tokens and are voters, do you have any idea like when we expect this on-chain proposal to arise? Is it like in a week or in like a month or?
I think sometime this week.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Well, that's exciting.
Like,
okay, well,
next
stay
few
tuned,
days.
voters.
Few days, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's exciting to see some of the discussions formalize past kind of Commonwealth and get into the voting stage. So I think that's really exciting. Awesome. Well, thanks for all the detail. Well, I think it's good to get the detail level every once in a while on this for those of us that don't wake up and participate in this particular conversation every week. And great to hear that you all are doing this every week as it goes.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Cool. Moth Creative.
Yeah, so Moth is just the name of the growth DAO, and Sari and I and Giancarlo and Aaron Vanderberger are part of it, and then a number of people contribute ideas and have feedback and stuff like that. So it's sort of a group of us working on the side on some side projects. So we wanted to share just a little bit about what we have decided are going to be sort of our big projects for the first quarter. So we chatted at the last Twitter Spaces, and I'm going to share the YouTube link for that Twitter Spaces, all about our grant project to a team to do expanded documentation development for users for DAO. For those who may not remember, DAO is a governance platform that's going to allow groups of people that are in the Regen network to basically team up and have all kinds of discussions, make all kinds of votes, manage treasuries. It's definitely an expanded set of DAO decision-making tools. And when we have our network upgrade and Cause of WASM gets turned on, this is one of the applications that already exists that was built by the DAO team outside of Regen that will be able to be turned on for Regen. So Sari and myself and Noah and Jake and Dave, but primarily Sari and Dave, are working together to basically make sure all the basic user guides are in written form, and they'll look kind of a lot like our guides at Regen Network looks, but for the DAO application. And Dave is doing all of these amazing like video step-by-steps of how you actually use the experience itself. So we're primarily doing this as a Regen grant. Moth is holding some community Regen. We're holding in a pool for community projects, and we're hoping that by the end of March we're going to have like almost all the basic documentation ready out there, so that when we actually can turn on DAO, if you or your organization or your endowment from the foundation want to use the tool, that the basic user guides are there so that you can sort of traverse that user experience and onboarding yourself. Do you have anything you want to add, Sari? Because you're doing the docs work. You've been our amazing guides and docs lady here in Regen Lands, and now you're helping over on the DAO team side. So I'm excited that you're back in the docs world.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And it's been, I mean, the most exciting thing about doing any sort of documentation, I think, is learning at such that high detail level of a new project. And DAO, it really is a cool project that I can see people utilizing in really fun ways. And I can totally see the way that it could pair well with just the Regen Network community. And yeah, it's really awesome. So it's a fun project to be working on with good positive impact, I hope. So
yeah, and so for anybody who wasn't able to tune into Twitter Spaces, which we had on February 15th, I've dropped in the chat the link to the YouTube video, which is just a replay of the discussion. We were on there with Noah and Jake from DAO, and talking with the community and folks from R&D and the registry and foundation about all the ways we as a community might use DAO. So if you're not familiar with what DAO is, I totally think that just like sort of tuning in and listening to that particular YouTube discussion will give you a lot of fuel for how you could think about using this set of governance tools for your project. And at the end of the month, we will be providing an update around where we're at with the network upgrade, sort of what's our timeline for adopting this, where are we at with the documentation project. We're going to check in and see how far we get with our sprint this month, and then see if we need to do any more before it's launched. So we're busy at work with that project right now. Also upcoming, Sari and I are about to launch a analysis of our Discord. We don't use it quite as much anymore, so we're going to try to simplify it, and then increase a little bit of our engagement with management and monitoring of Discord for those who are still using that platform. So we'll be reaching out to folks at R&D and registry and foundation and other community members to understand how people use different channels in Discord, and seeing where we can simplify some of the channels that we have and sort of streamline Discord so it's easier for everybody and represents more of the level of use that we have with that platform these days. So stay tuned for a little bit of outreach from us to get everybody's opinions. But if you use Discord and there's something particular that you love about it or something particular that you would like to see upgraded about it, feel free to tag Sari on Discord. Will you share your handle in the chat, Sari, for anybody who just has something particular they want to share, then know where to reach you? And then the next project that we're working on, which we haven't released yet, and we'll probably talk more extensively about at the next community call, is we have designed something we're calling the Regen Ambassador Program. And the idea here is that we want to use some of this pool of Regen tokens that's for the community in order to activate the community on different activities. And so we have set up sort of a quest and reward experience for folks that are out in the ecosystem. So Sari, will you mention a couple of the items that are in the ambassador program? Maybe we can both mention a couple that we thought of, because this was really something you designed a long time ago that we're finally actually getting to do, which will be a lot of fun to see how community members engage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one part of the program is just trying to get people familiar with participating in our governance processes and learning about staking Regen and learning about like what projects are available on the marketplace, just like very straightforward little interactions that you can have with the Regen Network umbrella to learn a little bit more about what it is that we do. yeah, those are the ones that I think I'm most excited about. If you're also talking about a few, I'll leave. Yeah, some other things for you.
Yeah, and some of those basic activities in Quest, the idea is that if somebody's new to Regen or they're learning about Regen, that in doing these activities, if they submit their proof, they can get some Regen rewards. They sort of end up with some Regen token and then can kind of continue to be a community member or join governance or, you know, use the tokens in other ways. So it's about trying to encourage us to have sort of a rewards process for joining the network. We also have a couple of layers to this that are for more mature community members. So if you are somebody in the community that has long wanted to write your own blog about Regen or your relationship to Regen or how you're using Regen, or you're, you know, if you think about doing a podcast or you already have a podcast, or, you know, there's some kind of unique conversation that you want to have about the tools of Regen, the community of Regen, your experience with Regen. We have layers in this rewards program that's like, hey, if you write your own blog about Regen, or you break down part of the system and communicate it to people, or you interview somebody in the community doing a project, we want to reward you for being creative and being the source of new content. And so we have a couple of lanes that are going to be inviting different people that are more familiar with the system to write their opinions or do interviews or things like that. So when we kind of present the program on the next community call, we'll kind of walk through the different Quest lanes to make sure that folks have an understanding of like how they interact with this and how they can think about it. But our goal is really to encourage people to interact and use the system, to tell their stories, to tell the stories of the network, and actually get rewards for participating in that way, because a lot of these activities, they just take a lot of time. It takes time to write a blog. It takes time to interview somebody. It takes time to learn how to use the system. And we want the community Regen that we've been stewarded to end up in the hands of a community that is active and learning, and encourage the movement and use of the token through that stuff. So this program is also going to be meant for the community, which means that if you look at it when it's released and you're like, oh, I wish there was this other activity, or I wish there was another quest, or why don't we have stuff for this area of the network? We are 100% open to adding new quest categories, new ideas, new rewards. It's kind of, we're starting with a pilot with stuff that we think is really straightforward and basic. And then we're happy to include anything that registry folks want to see, foundation wants to see, community members in general want to see. So please consider this as a starting point for a new experience of interacting with Regen and getting Regen as a reward for participating in the system. So stay tuned when we release that, and we are 100% doors wide open for all of your ideas. We want to make this fun. We want to make the experience of interacting with Regen engaging and interesting. So I think that's all we have. With these 3 projects, we have a pretty busy first quarter. So we're going to try to get a lot of stuff done and dig into it before we add more to our plate. But we're always open to requests and creative ideas from the community. So if you have other ideas for cool projects that you think would activate the community, please reach out to me or Sari or even Dave is a good access point to us. So just excited to see how folks interact when there's more opportunities and more clear pathways to get Regen rewards for interacting with the system. I think that's all we had, yeah.
Network governance updates. Is this Ryan? Or I could probably give this update. Yeah, I didn't realize when we made these slides that there was the continued discussion about the inflation rewards, which we've added in the chat. So reminder that discussion is still out there if anybody has any final comments before that goes to vote. This particular link for the network upgrade is where I'm posting the periodic updates that we're getting from Robert and Giancarlo and Aaron, who are the technical team implementing the Regen upgrade. Just a quick reminder, we're going from Cosmos SDK 046 to 047 to 050. And in that journey, we're adding CosmWasm. So right now we're in the first phase of going from 046 to 047. Quite a bit of progress has been made.
But we are waiting for the team to do a little travel to conferences and resolve a couple of issues with something called the ORM, which is a more technical set of information than the average person needs to understand. But what we want to let the community know is this is where we'll be writing the updates that are public periodically. As a reminder, a couple of Regeneratis ago, we did chat with Giancarlo and Robert about the work and the timeline. So I'll share in the chat here the recording of that particular conversation for anyone who didn't get that basic background. But feel free to look here on Commonwealth for public updates. And as we have significant updates on the engineering work, we'll make sure that we make sort of milestone announcements here in this call. So I suspect we'll have quite a bit more information to share by next month's community call. They should be further along in the stages, and we should be closer to an upgraded blockchain. So I think with that, I'll pass along to the next team. Next slide. Foundation.
Well, that's me again this week. We've launched cohort 3 of the community staking DAO program. It's nice to see a few folks on the call here today, like Howard. Thanks for showing up, a previous graduate of the community staking DAO program. So in this next group, we have DAO, Commonwealth, Finance for Gaia, Sunflower Ecotech, Ogallala Life, and Eco Token. That's a fun group. Maybe many of you recognize the names of some of these projects in some way or another. So they're kind of going through the cohort now, and we'll be getting some locked Regen token grants as part of this program. And there's kind of a few steps along the way to receiving a token grant. So cohort 2 is some of their members are just getting their tokens, and that's the Foundation for Regeneration and EcoNavi both have some tokens now. So exciting to be getting community members stake in the network and have that moving along as we go to the next slide. And ETH Denver has been mentioned in various places, various times. Our executive director, Austin's going to be out there. I think we have a link later in this deck about the event. And then we're doing a pilot of DAO using retroactive compensation. We talked about it a little bit on the Twitter Spaces the other day as well. And in setting credits in supply chain, which is also kind of just getting going. So yeah, those are the updates on the foundation end.
Hi, Steve. Nice to see you. Good to have all these updates. Thanks, everybody. I don't know if it was announced last time, but just to confirm, I'm on as a Chief Growth Officer at Regen Network DAOment, Public Benefit Corporation. So I am the make number go up human in this ecosystem. So helping harness all of this talent to bring in more sales, more wallet adoption, more project developers, all the things that are indicators of ecological or of ecosystem health, within Regen Network. So excited to be here. On that front, I just wanted to share a couple of things. So we've got, and I might tie this in with ETH Denver. So that slide could be moved around. But we are going to be, I'll start with ETH Denver because it's related to the launches. ETH Denver, we have an event on March 2nd, I'm flying out there on Sunday. Also meeting me out there is Gregory and Sam from the registry, Austin from Regen Foundation, and some of our DAO friends. Bax is going to be out there for a couple of days. I think Paul is going to be out there for a bit of time, and hopefully some of our builders. So this event we're doing coordination with Climate Coordination Network. They're the offshoot of the Climate Rounds for Gitcoin. They are now a standalone organization. So we have a 5-hour program from noon to 5 on the 2nd at a really fun winery and restaurant. We have about 4 hours of programming, a full hour of a complimentary happy hour. And the programming is going to kind of be a little bit split, obviously between CCN and Regen, but obviously all around climate impact. So we'll have Sam talking about registry, Austin talking about regenerative DAOs, Gregory talking about where Regen is moving, and then and we've sold out. So we've got 225 folks that have registered to come, and a waiting list that's building. So I think we should have a good show. I'll also be speaking at the Flow Carbon event on the February 28th on a panel with other folks around the kind of health and status of carbon markets. So that should be ETH Denver, I think, should be a productive and fun space for all of us. On a related note, then on ETH Denver and growth is we're going to be rolling out over the course of the next 2 weeks 3 different biodiversity credit products. So the first one that we're just wrapping up preparation for is an ancestral Jaguar project finance or pre-finance credit. And this is one that we've been working on for a bit, and it's new to Regen. It's very exciting and giving the ability for projects who need funds in order to instantiate a credit to come to Regen and start their journey with selling essentially a guarantee, or not a guarantee, the ability to get a future credit by funding early. It's almost like a Kickstarter for project development. So the Shada Mensa community, a tribe down in Ecuador as part of the Achuar Nation, has been working with Fundación Pachamama, and has also been working with Pear and Stokeness Futures, and Regen's team registry has really been leaning in, been great to develop our first pre-finance effort. So that is going to be launching next week at this event. We're looking to raise $75,000 by hopefully selling this through over the course of the coming weeks. We've already got an early buyer, premium tequila company, a B Corp called Altos Planos, who makes, I've not tried it yet, but apparently very good tequila and does it in the right way. And already some other buyers committed to helping underwrite this effort. And we're going to be able to actually use Stripe or regular credit card processing for the first time, which is very exciting as we continue to make sure we have a good Web 2 experience when it comes to engaging Regen Network. So look forward to that announcement. It's called, anyhow, so that's one. And then on a related note, I'm hoping, I'm not sure if Olivia is here yet, doesn't look like it, and I'm hoping she's still going to show from Era Brazil. Era Brazil has been working with Regen for quite some time, and I'll have Becca dig in more to that. But we'll also be supporting them on some project pre-finance work here in the next couple of weeks. And we'll get into that in just a minute. And then Terrasos Biodiversity Credit will also be launching. And this credit is on-chain, and we have an app page up, and we'll be ready to sell this more publicly. We're going to kind of hold the announcement for another week and a half or 2 weeks or so. But the point is, you know, really some innovative products on the project finance side, as well as just generally bringing biodiversity credits to market. This is a new space for the climate finance markets. It's if you want to go back to that other slide that you started with, Sari, that one, yeah. So what I just want to share, and then this is again open discussion. You know, I'm speaking with the Wildlife Works folks here today, as well as other players in the space, where biodiversity credits are they're early, they're innovative. In a lot of ways, people think they should be at a premium, even over carbon markets, as having being a more holistic indicator of ecological health if done correctly methodologically. And they're not standardized. There's It's as far as I'm aware, there's not a ratings rubric yet for biodiversity credits, and the buying community is not going to be offsetting their carbon footprints per se with biodiversity credits necessarily. So that's creating all kinds of interesting uncertainty and both excitement and uncertainty in the markets. Who's going to buy? Where's the money going to come from? Where's it going to sit on a balance sheet? Why are they buying? So all of these things are areas that we're navigating on the demand side, as well as, frankly, the project developer side, trying to stimulate the market, help organize and educate the market. So we're going to be doing some things to support this. Ideally helping educate the market. I'm working on putting together a group of our biodiversity credit folks into a room. I'm talking to GBBC this morning, Global Blockchain Business Council, about hosting a conversation with some of their corporate members about biodiversity credits and their kind of where the state of the biodiversity credits are, at least on the supply side. I think to sell these, there's been some interesting conversations around that the purchase of these might come through marketing budgets. And I'll say, for example, we're talking to ERA Brazil about if people purchase up to 50,000, they may get a Jaguar tour down in there where the project is, and starting to think more about how to package these credits up in a way that recognizing the relationship to the voluntary carbon markets, but also starts to create a unique space for these and a different way of looking at the value of verified improvements in biodiversity. And how does that look? How does that feel? Where does it live? So there's going to be a little bit of exploration and discovery here, which I'm excited about. We've also talked about pairing carbon credits with our biodiversity credits to sweeten it and to actually be able to satisfy some of the climate finance goals related to the VCM, people offsetting their carbon footprint, but them wanting also this better story, frankly, in a lot of cases, of more holistic protection of biologically diverse lands. So I'm missing a bunch of things, but I just want to plant that seed. I saw Howard has his hands up. So maybe Howard, if you want to drop in and feel free to answer a question, I'll do my best to answer.
Well, yeah, if I may, I was wondering if the scope of biodiversity will extend into the soil microbiome. Is it macro and charismatic biodiversity, or will we also get to the nitty-gritty of soil health and use measures of soil vitality and microbial action as a way to complement carbon credits with this far more holistic approach? Is that something that's part of the thinking for how this market evolves?
That's a great question. I'm going to defer to maybe Ned and Becca. I don't know if Becca, you're back yet. Let me see. Nope, you're not. Let me just ping her. Ned, do you have any thoughts there? And actually, we have Olivia on also, who just joined us from Brazil. Very excited. Hold on just a second. I'm just pinging Becca. Ned, I don't know if you've dropped into this on the methodological level and maybe can speak to this at all. I assume it looks a little different depending on the methodology, but anything based on the existing methodologies, and then we could have Olivia actually start to share a little bit more about Brazil.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any metrics directly related to soil health at this point, but there are people talking about it, I know. And this is, there are several dozen methodologies out there related to biodiversity. One of the issues is, coming up with metrics that kind of make sense for soil health. I mean, if it does get down to nematodes, that becomes a measurement issue, and you have to have labs and expertise to be able to handle that. But I think it's going to happen. I've been kind of promoting it with some of the colleagues that I'm working with to highlight the importance of that, because that's, in a lot of ways, that is the foundation of a lot of the biodiversity. But at this time, I'm not aware of any methodology that is integrating that in a direct way, at least.
Yeah. I would highlight that it would complement the supply chain insetting initiative very effectively. I think to be able to build soil capital through biodiversity in the soil biomicrobes is really a long-term investment that might be attractive to risk managers and folks who are thinking ahead about what their supply chains look like and how biodiversity can affect the bottom line as a more than being on the right side, get some productivity, which I think manifests at the soil level. So that'd be the way I would encourage future development to point, recognizing the foundation to ecosystem health is in the soil.
Thanks, Howard. You know, I think there's a good opportunity. Becca, I know you were interested in kind of framing up and introducing Olivia. Becca, you're ready to rock?
Yeah, totally. And let's just pop to the next slide, but instead of using that as an update round, I just want to frame out for everybody here that we have been working with ERA Brazil for years now, and it's really coming to this incredible culmination with not just this outstanding methodology that's being used for multiple projects, but specifically for the upcoming project that they're going to be offering the pre-finance credit launch. So what I want to speak to briefly and then let Olivia take it from there is that the ERA methodology for biodiversity stewardship credits is incredibly unique in that it has the kind of the heart of environmental stewardship, and that it's around practices, and yet it still employs kind of this dynamic like species specific approach. So I would love, Olivia, if you could speak kind of at a high level first, invite us into the approach, the need that was seen in building this methodology, and then kind of drive us more towards the project and what you guys are wanting to achieve from this credit launch.
Yeah, sure. Are you listening well? Yeah. So thank you for the invitation. Well, briefly to talk about the methodology we developed, I didn't develop it alone. We have like lots of professionals that work with us to develop. And I think that the best, it's not a choice, but the best outcome that we have during this maybe 6-month process is that we have one piece of the methodology that is address like general issues regarding the habitat in the ecosystem, and we have another piece that we call the guideline, the species guideline, that address that specific species that we are trying to protect in that habitat. So we have until now developed one guideline for the jaguar, and we are piloting this in Brazil, in Pantanal. But the methodology could be applied to, I don't know, but to a wolf in another place of the world. We just need to develop this specific guideline for that specific species in the habitat that she lives on. So talking about the methodology, we have two main, yeah, how can I say? We have two main parts of this methodology. One of them talks about the umbrella species health, which we have to address the presence and the size of the population, together with the movement of that species. And we have this other part that talks about the habitat quality. And in this part, we talk about the taxonomic diversity, that is the interaction of these species with other species. So we have to make a survey of the species that live in that habitat. And we also talk about the ecosystem disturbance. So here we have lots of fires, but could be any disturbance that occurs in that habitat that we need to address to protect that species. So this is, how can I say, but these are general guidelines that we have to apply regardless the species we are trying to protect. And then we have the guideline that we need to, the methodology says that have like a roadmap or a pathway to write this guideline. Any group of professionals can write a guideline through this roadmap and address specific concerns regarding that species protection through property management, social engagement, and financial strategy. So we have this pilot in Brazil, and we are addressing jaguar conservation. And for example, we have lots of concern regarding cattle and the jaguar conflicts. So we have property management strategies, social engagement strategies, and financial strategies to maintain the jaguar conservation. And if we have another animal, I don't know, elephants, in another place of the world, we are gonna study this animal and try to understand what are the threats of this animal in that specific location. And we're gonna build a guideline regarding property management, social engagement, and financial strategy for that specific animal. So yeah, just a brief about our methodology.
So much work, just appreciating how much work has gone into all of this. I think it'd be great, considering the time that we have left, for folks that have questions or even reflections, and thinking like Ned and Giselle, like your time working through the methodologies, as well as my own, and thinking about what makes it unique in the space, and how it's emerging next to other biodiversity methodologies. As I'm certainly seeing that among the different biodiversity approaches, that stewardship is not as kind of honored as it is in this, but how central it really is to effective conservation and preservation. Would love to hear from others' thoughts, questions for Olivia.
I had a question for Olivia. I was thinking about this kind of flexibility of the methodology to become bespoke for different type of species. So how do you feel after some interactions between your original projects being implemented for jaguar? Have you been thinking about different species, or how do you find maybe what are the challenges you see when trying to maybe implement that in Ecuador or in other areas of the world? What have you seen related to that flexibility, and whether, yeah, the main challenges that you see for that? I guess this is going to be iterative, and it's going to be learning for everyone, but I wanted to hear your first experiences about that.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and we have been working with FIR to help to develop a pilot in Ecuador. And well, there they have jaguar as well, and our first thought was, okay, we can use the same guideline. That's great, but then in the end, it was not that great, because even it's the same animal, we have different threats in these different places. So this was quite a good experience. And in the end, we are developing two different jaguar guidelines, one for Brazil and one for Ecuador. Yeah, so different threats, the disturbances, and even the threat in Brazil, in the place that we're applying the methodologies, mainly cattle and human jaguar conflicts. And in Ecuador, they're building a big road inside of the area. So there is this threat, that's the deforestation and the development coming through this road construction. So different threats, and different guidelines, and the best thing is that we just we are realizing that while we are applying the pilots, and it's working. If we have only one methodology, it would be difficult to try to address these different places and threats and disturbance we have. Because while developing a methodology, you have to listen the stakeholders, we have to put the methodology to public consultation, we have to pass the methodology through reviewers, and all this process take time. And if we have one methodology that address general issues, and we have a guideline that can address different issues for different species, you make it faster when you have to study this specific animal and build a guideline through a roadmap process. Yeah, so I think every time we take a look at one pilot, one possibility of a pilot, we have another one here in Brazil for a monkey. So it's totally different threats, totally different property management and financial strategies and social engagement as well. So I think that's the best part of developing this methodology with other professionals was this outcome, having one general document and one specific document for each species.
Fantastic. Just a brief comment. I saw news today that the jaguar was reintroduced in a province of Argentina that has gone extinct. So it's a very good news. So there's a lot of potential to implement the methodology in Argentina, in Corrientes and in Misiones, where the jaguars are starting to come back.
Oh, great. I wonder, Olivia, if you could speak to the significance of these pre-finance credits, like what it means to be able to like get funding in the door at this moment instead of like waiting and trying to keep pushing for credits at a later point in time. Like, what does it mean right now to be able to pre-finance these projects?
Yeah, it's another very good point. I also was invited yesterday to an event that's gonna happen in Brazil to talk about the biodiversity market here and how we can develop this market. We have done some studies on what do we need, just the basic, what we need to put a pilot on the ground and to make this pilot happen. And what we found out is that we do need some basic efforts or money to have these pilots to like happen. Even though I have to say we built the methodology to be the minimum effort in the first year, and then you have to increase 10-20% of the strategies year by year. And we did that because we want to small projects and less investment needed just to kick off the project. The conservation has to happen. And then once you have money on the wheel, you can just input more money on the conservation efforts, and you can like have a big project, beautiful one. But for the first year, we don't need too much. We need just the presence of the species and to understand the taxonomic of the habitat, looking to other species interaction. And that's it. And of course, you do need to have some strategies, but if you have, don't know, 15 or 20 strategies on the guideline. You just need to apply like 3 of them in the first year, and then you're gonna increase the number of the strategies to protect that animal. So that being said, we do need this money to at least understand which species we have in the place, and have some at least one field campaign to understand other species interaction, to apply this specific methodology. Besides that, we have to build the documents, like remote sensing analysis, and the one thing we are trying to understand, and it's not mandatory, but well, I think that the investors, they like that, is the verification. The verification also costs money, and we are understanding for all the meetings we are having, and with potential investors and potential buyers for these biodiversity credits, is that they do need the verification to feel safer or to buy these biodiversity credits. During the development of the methodology, we didn't add these as mandatory, because we do understand that it costs money and time, and once we do that, we are basically taking the smaller properties the chance of applying the methodology. But yeah, I think there's no way of running of this verification, and well, sometimes it's $15,000, but it depends on the place and on the company the company that we're gonna hire to do this verification. So yeah, I think we have two options. Or we do have an investor to put money in the risk together with the property owner and with the project developer to invest and then have the units issued. Or we have a pre-buyer that he just wants the biodiversity credits, and he believes and he's buying these credits in advance. But yeah, there's no way of not having at least small amount to issue these biodiversity credits.
Yeah, the significance of a pilot for this methodology, and the significance of being able to enable the project to happen, enable the methodology to get off the ground, really learn enough to get started. It's so significant to be able to get in on these credits and really make this happen. In the 1 minute we have left, any thoughts, like Dave or Ned, that you guys have to round us out?
No, I'm just excited to get it to market. I mean, and figure out, working with the ERA team. I had my first call with them yesterday or a couple days ago, and it was great. But yeah, I think we're in a new world here, trying to figure out who's going to buy them and why it's important, how we talk about it, and where it ends up. So welcome and invite people to on our learning journey on that, and let's go sell some credits, right? Let's get this work funded and make sure Olivia and the ERA team can do their work, while we help facilitate the growth from our side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Here for it. Yeah. Well, thanks, Olivia. I guess we're at time, and appreciate everybody being here, and really great to have you. We'll just keep at it. Thanks, everybody. Bye.